Hi everyone, and welcome to video number 28 on the section on warfare. Ladies and gentlemen, we've come to the end of warfare. This is the final video, you'll be pleased to hear. Now, in the previous videos, hopefully I've gone through the course, I've gone through the syllabus, and I've hopefully given you some knowledge. The knowledge that you've gained by looking at the previous videos, ladies and gentlemen. In this video, what I'm going to show you is how to use that knowledge, hopefully, to prepare and do well in your GCSE exam. How do you use that knowledge to do well? Well, let's consider the exam. The exam, 1 hour 15 minutes. It's in two sections. Section A is on the Blitz. I've done a series of videos for you on that. Section B is on warfare. And that's what I'm going to concentrate on for the rest of this video. Now, in section B on warfare, you answer 3 questions. So let's have a look at these questions in a bit more detail. Question 3. It says, explain one way, ladies and gentlemen, key point. Explain one way something in warfare is similar or different over 2 periods of the course. It's only worth 4 marks. Therefore, timing, tick, tock, tick, tock. If I were you, I would only spend about 5-7 minutes on this answer because it's only worth 4 marks. Now, what are they going to ask you? Well, if you've seen some of my previous videos, you'll see this. These are the possible things that they could ask you. They could ask you about recruitment, training, impact on civilians, weapons, composition, that's type of soldiers, etc. They are the sorts of things that they will ask you in question 3. Now, keep your answer short. You've got to write about, let's say it's training across 2 periods of the course. You have to write about both periods of the course. Remember what I said, keep it short, keep it concise, keep it precise. One way to answer it would be like this. In period, whatever it is, medieval say, in the medieval period, the training of the soldiers was whatever. An example of this is, and you give some knowledge, you give an example. Full stop. Then, this was the same, or this was different, depending on what the question is, to the training in the 1800s, when it was like this. An example of training in the 1800s is this. So you will have given one way of how something was either the same or how it was different. Maybe about 3 or 4 sentences. That is all you need, ladies and gentlemen. Now, what sort of questions could they ask you? Well, here are some examples. Would you be able to answer these in the exam? Here's one. Training in the army in 1250 was different to training in the army in 1700. Explain one way. Yes? Or explain one way the role of the cavalry in 1250 was different to the role of the cavalry in 1900. Explain one way. Explain one way the infantry at the Battle of Naseby, 1645, was similar to the infantry in the Battle of Waterloo, 1815. That's the type of question that you're going to get for your question 3. Let's move now to question 4. Question 4 is worth 12 marks. Therefore, ladies and gentlemen, you need to spend more time on question 4. I would estimate roughly somewhere between 15 and 20 minutes. Now, what is question 4 all about? It's another explain question Remember question 3, explain one way something is similar or different. Question 4, explain why something happened between two time periods. In other words, you are explaining why. So therefore that word will need to be in. And if you are talking about explaining why something happened, then we are looking at reasons, or we are looking at factors, ladies and gentlemen. Now, I've spoken before about factors. Just to remind you, remember, factories make things. We make things in factories. Factors make things happen. They are reasons. They are causes. So if question 4 is asking you to explain why something happened, you have to explain, use the word because, and give your reasons. Give the factors. Now, the examiners are very nice to you, ladies and gentlemen. In question 4, they give you 2 bullet points, 2 hints, 2 clues, and they say you may use the following 2 things. May use. If I were you, ladies and gentlemen, if I were doing the exam, I would use those 2, because they're obviously put there for a reason. They obviously must lead to some of the factors which will help you explain why something happened. So use the 2 bullet points. And, if possible, for extra higher marks, use information of your own knowledge. So you're looking possibly to try and give 3 reasons or 3 factors to explain why something happened. Now, what sort of factors do we look for? Well, here they are, ladies and gentlemen. We've looked at them before throughout the course. Science, technology, communications, governments, individuals, different people, attitudes in society. They're the factors why things happened, so they will be what you will probably be writing about in question 4. Now, how to organise your answer for question 4. Remember I said 15 to 20 minutes, so you've got longer, but don't waste time. Time's important. So just do a very short introduction. There were 3 reasons why whatever happened. The first one was boof, and then you're straight into it. You've shown the examiner, hopefully you're going to write about 3 reasons, the 2 bullet points plus your own knowledge, and then you're straight into it. You're not wasting time. That's good. Now, probably organise your answer into 3 different sections, 3 paragraphs, 1 factor per section, 1 factor per paragraph. Give the factor, then use accurate knowledge to prove that the factor led to change. And you do that every time in each section. The first bullet point, the second bullet point, and your own knowledge. What phrases could you use, hopefully, to put yourself on the road to a good answer here? This led to. This meant that. This resulted in. So you've put the factor, you've put in accurate knowledge to prove it, and then you tie it to the question if it's asking you about change. This led to change because. This meant that this happened. This was changed because. Can you see what you are doing, ladies and gentlemen? That is question 4. Now, here are some examples for you of the type of question they will ask you in question 4. Now, how many of these do you think you could answer once you've done your revision? Explain why weapons changed between 1700 and 1900. What factors led to the changes? What accurate knowledge would you put in to prove that weapons changed? Or explain why recruitment changed 1700 to 1900. exactly the same technique. Can you see what you're going to be doing? You're trying to explain why recruitment changed in those 2 periods. Or final one, explain why the impact on war for civilians changed between 1900 and present day. Looking at the changes on the impact in civilians. Why did that happen? That's the sort of thing, ladies and gentlemen, they ask you for question 4. And now, finally, we move to the very last question. Whoop, my tassels. There we go. Question 5, or, I repeat, or question 6. Do not do both of them. You will not have time. Read both of them. Read question 5, read question 6, and then you say, right, which one of those do I know more about? Which one do I think will get me the higher marks? And then you just do one of them. Question 5 or question 6. You have the choice. 16 marks plus 4 for spelling, punctuation and grammar. So 20 marks. It's a huge amount. So therefore you've got to make sure you know what you're doing with question 5 or question 6. Because there's so many marks. Time. Tick, tock, tick, tock. I would leave about 25 minutes for this question because it's important you get it right. Now, what's question 5 and question 6 all about? Very simple. They give you a statement, a sentence. It's not asking you a question, it's just a statement. And then they'll say, how far do you agree with the statement? Explain your answer. And again, because they're nice, they give you 2 bullet points. They give you 2 clues. Again, use them, ladies and gentlemen, in your answer. And again, it asks you to give your own knowledge as well. So again, we're looking for probably 3 different parts of our answer. Now, how do we get high marks in question 5 and question 6? Let's see if I can still do it. Way! It's balance, ladies and gentlemen. You have to try and provide a balanced answer. Ooh. So to do that, you look at the statement. Now you say, right, what knowledge that I have that supports the statement, agrees with the statement? And then you put that on one side. Then think, what knowledge do I have which maybe disagrees or is not in favour of the statement? Put that to one side. Then you start to plan your answer. Because to try and get high marks, you have to look at both sides of the argument. If I were doing it, I'd say, right, I'm going to divide my answer into 3 sections. The first section, I'm going to be showing all the knowledge, all the points, all the reasons, all the factors which agree with the statement. And I'm putting my knowledge and accurate information and facts in to support that. Section 1, it might be 1 or 2 paragraphs. Then I'm looking at the other side, the balance. On the other hand, there are possible reasons, factors, facts, which might disagree with the statement. So I carefully lay those out. I've looked at both sides. Okay. On one hand, on the other hand. Can you see what we're doing, ladies and gentlemen? We're looking at both sides of the argument. You presented both possible views about the statement. Well done. Then you come to the final and possibly most important part. Right at the very start, the question, how far do you agree? He was asking you a direct question. So you must give a direct answer. You must give your judgment. Now it's tempting, because you've looked at both sides of the argument, it's tempting to, whoa, I'm going to sit on the fence and say, whoa, I'm not certain, I'm a bit in the middle. No. It says, how far do you agree? Therefore, you must make your judgment. Use phrases like, I agree to some extent, or I agree quite a lot, or I agree very much with the statements. It's your judgment. And then, of course, you explain why you've given your judgment. I agree to some extent with the statement because, and you summarize your opinion. Hopefully, that would get you the high marks. 16, remember that spelling, punctuation and grammar. That's why you need time on this question to get everything just right, because there's 20 marks. Finally, some examples of these types of questions. Here's some of the statements. Remember the question, how far do you agree? Oh, here's one. 1500 to 1700. The use of muskets was the main reason for change in warfare. How far do you agree with that? Or 1800 to 2000. World War I was the biggest change in the way government recruited soldiers. How far do you agree? Can you see the pattern there? One final one. 1800 and 2000. Science and technology are the biggest factors for change in warfare. How far do you agree? So there, finally, we have it. That's the exam that faces you. Hopefully, all of these videos will have prepared you for the sorts of questions that I've just gone through in this video. One final tip. Whenever it is during the year that you are watching this video, my tip to you, do not leave your revision right till the final few days or few weeks. Try and get your revision started months and months before your GCSE exams. When I used to teach, I used to say that every single year to my pupils. And you know what, ladies and gentlemen? Every single year they ignored me. And that's why my hair went white. As ever, I hope it's been useful. There'll be a new series of videos on a different topic coming soon. But for warfare, that's it. All the best now. Speak to you soon.